I mean, it was. Yo, what up, Elmer? What's happening? How you doing? Welcome, welcome. We are live. We are in here. Trickle in, trickle in. Jason, how's it going? Get in here. Y'all are early. Pammy whammy. Jumping in early. Franklin. What's going on, James? Here from New Mexico. Woo! Way better than old Mexico, according to me now. When is Saints July training camp? Sounds like July. Bucks, what up? Skittle pop up. What's happening? How are we doing? Trickle in, ladies and gentlemen. Trickle, 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 trickle in. How are we doing tonight on a Thursday? Friday Eve, ladies and gentlemen. All right, let's see here. Bop. On my way home from work. There you go. Josh here, and I'm ready. Who dat? What hotel would you recommend in New Orleans? Depends on where you want to stay. So, what area do you want to stay in? Do you want to stay in the French Quarter? Do you want to stay uptown? Do you want to stay in the CBD? That is a huge variable of which one I would recommend. All right. Here we go. Boom. All right, there we go. Flying in from California to watch Saints game. I mean, there's so many good. The thing with hotels, like here, with hotels, I would say get one close to where you plan on being, because you don't want to walk. You don't want to be walking that much, like from the hotel and all of that. You don't want to do all that. You don't want to be getting Ubers late night. So if you're going to be in the French Quarter for a majority of the time, stay in the French Quarter. If you're going to be in the CBD, you don't want to be in the French Quarter, stay in the CBD. That's what I would recommend. Trizzy Tay, bro, I made a live. James, I finally caught up on the Madden franchise, and I'm sad because it's like now I got to wait for new episodes for a show. Man, I pumped them out last week, though. 4 episodes last week. Come on. Pack is in NYC. Damn. Are y'all going to meet up, Bucks? I heard you and Burley D were going to tear Vegas down. Is that true or false? I know, man. I know. Triz, I'm sorry about that. I'm glad you binged it, though. But we got more episodes coming this weekend. Yeah, 4 episodes last week. We're going to let everybody trickle in. We just went live on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. So we'll let everybody trickle in here before we pop off. We got a couple good videos already lined up. We got voice messages. Get in the chat, and then we'll see what we're going to do throughout the night. I'm from Los Angeles, and I finally got to visit New Orleans last summer. Let's just say Curio is so good that we ate there twice. Hey, there you go. There you go. Shout out Curio. Yeah, one of my favorites. I was there. Shoot, I was there 2 weekends ago. Now that I think about it, I was just there. All these ads, man. Everybody's got to eat, I guess. Hurricane Mike, what's happening? 3 ads. Acorn TV, what's going on here? TV channel for squirrels? All right. Sup, Who Dat Nation? I'm already tired of the off season. I hear you, man. I'm ready. Madden franchise has been very interesting. Man, we're up and down. We are up and down, are we not? Best team ever, worst team ever, best team ever, worst team ever. They do not want us to have DJ Reader. The Madden franchise has been crazy. But I'm really enjoying it. I'm really enjoying it. Madden 25 is going to be sweet. I'm pumped for that. Pulled into New Orleans when I was in the Navy 20 years ago. There you go. Been a Saints fan ever since. Go port in the house. Get on over to Biloxi. Upgrade. Deuce, what's happening? What's going on? How are you doing? There we go. There we go. 3 Thursdays in a row. Ladies and gentlemen. Unreal. Unreal. We had a lot of content this week. We had 2 videos on Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, right? And then daily videos the rest of the time. That's just on the main channel. Then we had Madden franchise was Friday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Is that how that went? A lot of stuff. A lot of content. I appreciate all of the engagement from y'all, all the support. I'm getting ready to drive home from work, but I'm listening. There you go. 2 hands on the wheel, 10 and 2. Ears on the show. Eyes focused on the road. Boom, right here. Boom, right here. You're driving. There you go. There it is. Defensive driver. That's what I always say. Try and be a defensive driver. James Dunn made his way up to my favorite Saints YouTuber. Let's go ahead and scratch Saints off there. Let's just make it James Dunn made his way up to my favorite YouTuber in general, ladies and gentlemen. All right. We'll keep letting everybody slide on in here. Yeah, I'm pumped. We got this video was sent to me earlier in the week. James and NOF is the best period. I could agree with that. Yeah, NOF's good stuff, man. Good people over there, for sure. They know what they're doing. They get in the weeds, man. They are there. I mean, if you want like, you know, the hardest hitting, most up to date content possible, those boys. I don't know, man. I don't know how they do it sometimes. Sometimes I see them talking about, because I do watch their stuff. And when I see they're talking 30 minutes about like the fourth string left guard, it's like, man, they're on a different level. Low key, the greatest YouTuber of all time. That's a comment of the day right there. We are 8 minutes into the live stream and we already got the comment of the day. What's good? What's up, Crafty? How's it going, Crafty? What's happening, man? Crafty, how was your foot champs this weekend? Bucks, you can answer too. Hit that like button. There you go, Brian. There you go. Spread the good word. Yeah. Likes, comments, shares, all that always helps. I do appreciate it. I do appreciate it. I'm just glad we got the chat figured out after our disastrous one. I didn't really advertise the live stream this week. I wasn't totally sure what the schedule was going to be, but I'm glad I got to jump on. So we'll do our normal 6 to 8 hangout session here. 0-30 every week. You already know. Right. I know you're still in the Matt HD Gamer chat. Calvin, what's up? Love your show and also love the hot takes about the Saints. Who Dat Nation. There you go. Much appreciated, man. Thank you for watching. What did we hit today in the gym? Today was shoulders. Boulder shoulders. Overhead press specifically. A lot of overhead press. A lot of the time if I'm doing like I try and rotate between like heavy lifting and dynamic lifting, but heavy shoulders today, which means I mostly just did overhead press. It was up in the 150, 165 area. Trying to get to that 200-pound overhead press. That'd be crazy. That'd be a lot. I don't know if my lower back can handle it. I went to Atlanta last week, but I'm back. There you go. How was Atlanta? I haven't been to Atlanta in a couple years now. I was getting up there all the time. I'll be up there actually in late July. So at this point, I don't even play real players. I've been relegated to playing the AI. Dude, that's how, bro. It's more fun. That's why I learned playing this Madden franchise. Like, instead of playing MUT and trying to do all that stuff, just play the franchise. Just go back to the old school. Can't wait for Derek Carr to win MVP and Kubiak to win Coach of the Year. Be the first assistant to ever do it. They do have an Assistant Coach of the Year award, so he could win that. Carr winning MVP would be insane. NFL say I can bring back 2 players from the IR. Oh, that's the new rule? Yeah. 4-1 ATS last 2 days. Will. Brother, why aren't you sharing the picks with me? Come on, man. I got smoked on that Panthers game. That was brutal. Brutal. Money was with me too. Smart Money was with us. Had the steam and everything, but sometimes it'd be like that. Madden franchises bias and pulls to the AI 100%. 100%. It's always been like that. It's always been like that, to where all Madden is just all pro, but the AI cheats. Like, the AI is calling defenses because they know you're playing on offense, and they are purposefully making your defenders drop the ball but make their defenders catch the ball. Like, it's very obvious that the AI is insane on all Madden. It's good to interact with you now in the chat before you get famous and can't talk to all of us anymore. Nah, man, I'm always going to be interacting. Remember the real ones? Oh, absolutely. No, what would happen is, honestly, like, if it kept going, kept growing, kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger, what would happen is there would just be more. Like, instead of one live stream a day or a week, it'd be like a live stream every day. Instead of, 2 videos a day, it would be like 4 or 5 videos a day. So that would be the only difference. I'd put the pedal to the metal. Steam is overrated. I'm kind of on the fence. It's overrated at the end, but if you can beat the line, I think beating line value is like the most important thing for a bettor to do. That's what any new bettor, I would say, just try and beat the line. If you can beat the line, then you're going to have a much higher win percentage than anything else. Beating the number and being on the right side, I think, is a good way for CLV, exactly. Like, CLV at a certain point doesn't matter anymore. Like, once it's already past it. Like, for example, if you're on, let's just say the Saints played the Falcons and the Saints were -2, and CLV got them to -3.5, and you took them at 3.5. It's like, yeah, technically the steam is on your side, but not at 3.5. The steam would have been on your side at 2, 2.5, 3. 3.5, you're against the steam there. So I do agree to a certain extent with the steam, but like, if you take the Saints at -2 and they steam up to 3.5 and you lose that's the right side every day of the week. That is 100% the right side of the bet to hold it -2 ticket when it goes off 3. So that's kind of how I look at CLV. But I do agree, like, at a certain extent, it is overrated. Too consistent, I'm out of control, man. We are not slowing down either. The season's not even here. Like, think about that. There's a lot of channels are posting a video every 2 weeks, and we're rocking 2 a day. I'm curious how they are about to rotate corners with the addition of Kool-Aid. I think they play matchups. Like, I think that's how defenses are now. I think they're very matchup heavy, matchup dependent. I think it's like, okay, who's our best man guy? Who's our best, zone guy? Who's our best against this kind of wide receiver? All that stuff. I think that's what dictates who's on the field. Instead of back in the day when it was like, okay, well, our best cornerback has to be over here. Our second best cornerback has to be over here. Our third has to be over here. I think now it's very matchup dependent. And that's how it should be. Would you give up our 2025 second round pick for Debo? Probably not. No. Probably not. James, who do you think wins what awards in the NFL this year? Like MVP? MVP's tough because you basically have to pick a quarterback. Like, it's very difficult. Christian McCaffrey proved that last year. It's very difficult for a non-quarterback to win it. So I would say quarterback-wise, or it's got to be someone who can put up. It also helps if the player can put up stats running and passing, because it just fluffs up the numbers. So it's difficult for, like, to say Joe Burrow is going to win MVP. He would have to throw 60 touchdowns because you're going to have people like Josh Allen, who it's like, okay, well, he's got 35 touchdown passes, but he also has 12 rushing touchdowns. So same with like Lamar, players like that, where they just do so much of everything. But it is kind of sad how the quarterback or how MVP works now, where it's not just like the best player award, it's the best quarterback on the best team award. So speaking of corners in franchise, you should low key move Taylor or Debo to safety. Better, yeah, I might do that. Especially, I think Taylor's like our 4th or 5th cornerback now, so I couldn't move him into Howden's spot. Top 5 cornerback room in the NFL? Yeah, I think the Saints do. Yeah, exactly. We already have Taysom. He kind of is Debo. He's not Debo, but he's, he can do what Debo does. Debo's kind of the same situation as Jamal Williams was, where like Jamal Williams comes in, but the Saints already have a Jamal Williams. And so if Debo came in, I feel like we'd already have. Oh, Crafty, dude. Hey, I got a special surprise for you. We are reacting to that very article in this stream tonight. So stick around, get ready, man. Tab out of Pokimane stream and watch this one when we're reacting to the ESPN article. The cap stuff is ridiculous. I think I don't cap. You should not be allowed to talk about salary cap. I don't think, because the salary cap never matters. It is such a made up thing. We were in salary cap hell according to every analyst, metric, everything possible. We were in salary cap hell, and we signed Derek Carr to a $150 million contract. So it's like, okay, what's going on here? I mean, like the Detroit Pistons, right? What's up, Lewis? How's it going, man? The Detroit Pistons, they signed Monty Williams to the highest paid NBA coach contract in the league, like $70 million. They fire him a year later. And you're not going to hear anything about their salary cap or where's that money or where's it going or who's paying it. It just poofs. The Cardinals, Arizona, in the NFL, they gave Clint Kubiak. They said Cliff Kingsbury. They gave him a 10-year, $100 million contract or something insane. Fired him the next year. All right, so salary cap, it gets so moved around, it gets so manipulated. I've said it once and I'll say it again. An NFL team has never been told they can't play on Sundays because of the salary cap. They've never been able to not fill a roster. Like that never is as impactful as people think. All right, ladies and gentlemen, how'd you know I was there? Hey, I know where you and Buck spend your Thursday nights, pal. All right, let's start this show. Thank you all for joining me tonight on another live stream. Another one. Again, I want to try and make Thursday 6 to 8 pretty consistent here. So I know I didn't really advertise this one, didn't really talk about it during the videos this week, but I'm glad you all checked in and are here tonight. As Jay-Z says, you could be anywhere in the world, but you choose to be here, and I do appreciate that. All right, so this was sent to me this week. This is Rich Eisen, his best case scenario for the Falcons, Saints, Bucks, and Panthers in the 2024 season. Now, usually I would only react to the Saints portion of this, but because we got a full house, well, we're going to do the entire video. I'm going to put on a damn show. So get involved in the chat. We'll be reading chat, all of that. Let's do it.
In case you're wondering how things go here on the show, sometimes we really put some hard work into coming up with segment ideas. We'll talk about it. We'll have meetings. We'll do stuff like that. Or right before the show, I'll turn to Mike Hoskins, our coordinating producer, saying, yeah, I want to do this. And you guys over here and go, yeah, that's not a bad idea. And the higher register, I'll just ignore and say, I think it is a good idea. So we decided,
come on, Rich.
With an idea where last year, the record for very well done.
Here we go.
NFC South today. Let's start with the Carolina Panthers. They had 2 wins last year. The record for most improved wins year over year in the history of the NFL is 10. It's 10.
Whoa.
The Indianapolis Colts, the year before Peyton Manning, had 3 wins. The year after having Peyton Manning, 13. Okay.
That doesn't count.
So,
all right. So let me give some context to the video. So what we're going to be talking, or what Rich is going to be talking about, is the absolute best case scenario for all of the NFC South teams. So Falcons, Saints, Bucs, and Panthers. So you can look at this in a bunch of different ways, right? I don't like whenever, like, obviously the best case scenario is the Super Bowl, right? The best case scenario is everyone's the best player ever. Everyone does this. Everyone does that. Boom, boom, boom. You win the Super Bowl. But that also can't be the answer because there wouldn't be a point. There would not be a point of the video, right? There wouldn't be a point of the discussion. So you do have to kind of keep it into a relatively like realistic world with this. So just keep that in mind. Low Productions, how's it going? Hello, may I request a video? Yeah, go ahead and put it in chat or put the name of it or whatever in chat, and then I'll if we have time, we'll take a look.
So, we're going to throw that out.
Yeah.
I will say this. Best case scenario, Coach Canales shows up and his offense starts cooking, right? And their first-round draft choice is
Here's the deal. Best case scenario for the Carolina Panthers is Bryce Young is not the worst quarterback in the NFL. Bryce Young does start to learn. Bryce Young starts to kind of like figure it out. Like that is their best case scenario because right now they are absolutely sunk. They are absolutely sunk with the trade to get Bryce Young, the roster. They have to have him be something. So even if he was just marginally better and they won 5 games, that would be a huge improvement for the Panthers. And that's what they need. So they don't need Bryce Young to be an all-pro. They don't need Bryce Young to be, the best player in the NFL. They don't need to make the playoffs for this to be a best-case scenario for the Panthers. Best-case scenario for them is that Bryce Young is something, and Dave Canales can pull something out of Bryce Young like he did last year with Baker Mayfield.
Xavier Legette and Jonathan Brooks. They drafted that kid, the running back, out of Texas, and you add them to the mix of some of the veterans that are already there, and Bryce Young, the light goes on in a way that it didn't last year, and the defense balls out despite Brian Burns not being there anymore. I will say this. I think the best case scenario
6 wins. Best case scenario is 6 wins, and that is nuts. That is crazy if they win 6 games. I'd be absolutely befuddled. So I'm going on a bit of a reach there, but absolute best case scenario is 6 wins.
Is plus 6 wins.
Oh,
and they go 8-9.
What?
And or plus 7 wins. I'll even say that, but that's a very, very tall order.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
They're just a game above 500. I think is the best case scenario. To go
That'd
from
be
2
absolutely
wins to
insane.
9 wins, I think is really glass half full, and that's where I'll go with that one. The New Orleans Saints, we got them.
There we go.
In year 1, Cliff Kubiak as their new offensive coordinator.
Okay. In chat right now, what do y'all think is the best case scenario for the Saints? Chase Cottom, hi James, how's it going, man? Best case scenario for the Panthers is 6 wins. I believe so, yeah. All right. So we're about to get into it. So in the chat right now, let me know what your best case scenario is for the Saints. And we're going to rock and roll.
You already heard earlier on this program, Dennis Allen say he thinks the offense is going to be significantly different.
No, I said that, Rich. I said that.
They've only done it the Sean Payton way, essentially.
Yes.
Pete Carmichael was a holdover from the Sean Payton era and Dennis Allen's first couple of years there. So I'm going to go out and say, Kamara's still there. They've got some really... Olave is going to potentially take a step forward. They've got some good players there. Some of this is still giving out some of the business.
Yeah.
And Derek Carr's first full year under his belt, living in the Bayou. Now he's got a new offense here. I'll say this team winning the division and making the divisional playoff round, I think is feasibly the best case scenario for them.
Yeah, that's probably about right. Yeah, I mean, that's okay. He kind of nailed that. He didn't really say anything. But, and man, I whenever, y'all know what I think about the analysis whenever it's just like, yeah, well, Kamara's there and Carr's there and Taysom's there. So, I don't know, 9 wins. I'm not a fan of that. But I do think directionally he is right here. Directionally, best case scenario is they win the division. They host a playoff game. Maybe win a game like Tampa did against Philly. Win a playoff game, get into the second round. That is probably best case. Now you could argue Is 9 wins win the division? Is 10 wins win the division? Does 11 wins win the division? I think 10 minimum wins the division. So 10, 11 games, I think is best case scenario. Let's see what chat has to say. 10 wins, 12-5, 11, 10. 8's a little low. 8's a little low. Make the playoffs, 10 wins, 10, 10, 10, 11, 11, 12. 13 is not. 13's wild. 13's wild. 11, yeah. 15. Oh, Jay, the one and only Jake Hayner's in chat, ladies and gentlemen. Jake, stay off the sauce, son. Stay off the sauce. 9, 10. Yeah, so we're all in about the same world. I think, that's about right. Like, the Saints' 7 games are pretty much, I don't want to say guaranteed, but we should win 7 games. If you look at win 1 against the Falcons, win 1 against the Bucs, 2 against the Panthers. We're doing this from memory here, so help me out. Then you beat the Giants, you beat the Commanders, you beat the Broncos, okay? And then, then you have the Raiders. So let's take the Giants off. So the Giants are a coin toss, but then that's 7 games right there, okay? Then you have the Giants, if we took them off and they were a coin toss or whatever, or a coin flip. You have the Giants now. You've got which would get you to 8. You've got obviously the big games, the Cowboys, the Eagles, the Chiefs. Am I just ripping the schedule off of memory here, ladies and gentlemen? Those coin flip games, the Browns, the Rams, the Packers, if you win 1 or 2 of those, that's how you get to 10 wins. But that's a tall order, right? It's a tall order to beat Green Bay prime time, tall order to beat Kansas City prime time, tall order to go and beat Dallas or even to beat the Rams and to beat the Browns. But it's possible is what I want to tell you. It's possible. I feel like we could go 11 with a couple of those coin toss games for sure. Because if we're at 8 or 9, we take care of business against the teams we're supposed to take care of business to, and the Chargers. Yeah, there you go. Like, if we take care of business against the teams that I just listed, and then we also beat the Giants, the Chargers, the Browns at home, that all of a sudden now you're at 10-ish wins. And that's how you get to 10, 11, right? So it does sound like a lot, but it's right there for us. And we don't even have to beat. That's not me saying, oh, we're going to beat the Chiefs. Oh, we're going to beat the Cowboys. Oh, we're going to beat we're going to beat everybody. That's not even me saying that. That's just me saying, like, okay, we got to win like 2 of these games, 2 of these 5 games. That's all I'm saying. And if we do that, bam, we're right there. We're right at 10. We're right at 11. We're winning the division. And that, if there is an upset, if we do sweep Atlanta, or if we do sweep Tampa, or if we do beat Dallas, or if we do win one of those games, hell, we're easy. Easy 10, 11 wins. No, 100%. I think 7 is borderline guaranteed. Borderline guaranteed. All right. So take that for what it's worth. But I think the division, so to answer Rich's question, the division is the best case scenario. Hosting a playoff game, winning that playoff game, a la the Buccaneers last year. That's the best case scenario. And I'd be the happiest person in New Orleans if that happened. I'd be absolutely thrilled. Absolutely thrilled if that happened. I'd be happiest man on earth. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. Rich sounds like he's there directionally. So let's hear what he has to say.
With the ultimate of respect, and the defense, they've got Lattimore, Tyrann Mathieu. I know Cam Jordan's not going to appear on the program now because I'm not saying that they could win their division and make an NFC Championship game or win a Super Bowl. I just feel if I sit here and say the Saints can win the Super Bowl this year, I'd be out of pocket.
Yeah.
But
I think you nailed it with them.
Thank you.
Same.
Next up,
yeah,
the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Okay.
I think
the Bucs. I think best case scenario would probably be the same thing as last year. I think their best case scenario for them is to win the division, win 10-ish games. They're the same. All the Falcons are the only team that I think has a little bit higher of a ceiling, like when it comes to like this kind of a conversation, because they have so many unknown players. We know what the Buccaneers are going to do. We know what the Saints are going to do as far as like Kamara, Olave, Carr. Like we know what those guys are going to do, right? We know what Baker Mayfield is going to do. We know what Mike Evans is going to do. We know what that defense is going to do. They're going to be right there around 9-10 wins. And if that's how many wins you have, somewhere between 9 and 11 wins, your best case scenario is win your division, host a playoff game. Buccaneers showed you that last year.
The best case scenario for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this year is winning the Super Bowl.
What? 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 Can we get some what's in chat? What? What? How? In what universe? For them to win, think about them winning the Super Bowl. Dave Canales leaves. So now you've got Liam Cohen. You have a whole different offensive coordinator coming in. You've got Baker Mayfield, who had basically a career year last year. He's going to take another step forward. He's going to take another step. What's he going to be, the MVP? Is the defense going to be the best defense in the NFL all of a sudden? How could they possibly? They overachieved last year. So for them then to overachieve again, to push into the playoffs, win a Super Bowl, that is insane.
I think this team that had a possession to make it a really tight game for the Detroit Lions in the divisional round last year, you could sit here and say that they were on fumes, that they were basically running at maximum power, but they have a team that is being brought back. The chemistry is there. Baker has been paid. Evans has been paid. A bunch of guys are being brought back. Levante David is back. And I think that would permeate a locker room in such a way that they could win this division, maybe get a couple of home playoff games.
You sure as hell better. If you're planning on the Buccaneers winning, if you're Rich, who I guess is, does he live in Tampa? If you're Rich and you're predicting this, you better hope they're winning like 12 games and they're hosting at least 2 playoff games, because there's no way in hell they're hosting a playoff game and then going to San Francisco or wherever they have to go to and winning that playoff game and then going to the Super Bowl and all that. No way. That is crazy. That is absolutely insane. That to me is the same thing as saying the Saints are going to do it. I can't believe he said that. I can't believe he said saying the Saints will go to the Super Bowl is crazy. Okay, now I'm going to say the Buccaneers are going to the Super Bowl. That's just as crazy.
Go to the playoffs and shock the world. Best case scenario. Am I saying it's going to happen? I can't sit here and say a team that was one of the final 8 teams has no chance to win the Super Bowl this year in a best case scenario. If we're going glass half full, and that's the way we're walking into this segment, how can you sit here and say a team that did that last year and the general manager said, we believe in you, we're bringing you back? They got a kid in the draft out of Duke that will hopefully replace Ryan Jensen successfully.
Anytime they got a kid in the draft from Duke, anytime that's your analysis, it's not good. But he's talking out of both sides of his mouth. He was in the Saints. He did the Saints one correctly. He was like, okay, let's try and reel this in, keep it realistic. This, and this. Let's not get crazy here. Then he immediately gets crazy. He immediately goes nuts. He immediately says, you know what? Forget all that. He immediately says, Graham Barton? Yeah, Graham Barton from Duke. There he is. He's immediately saying, you know what? Throw all that stuff out the window. Let's lose all the realistic aspects of this segment. And let's just say if everybody's the best player on earth and everyone takes a step forward and they shock the world, then they're going to win the Super Bowl. Every team could say that. Every team can say, well, if they shock the world, then boom, they'll win the Super Bowl. It's okay, but the point of the segment is what's the realistic best case scenario.
In the middle of that offensive line, Tristan Wirfs is on the left tackle. Stay healthy and go win some games.
like 12-5, 2 or 3 seed.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Go to San Francisco, score the upset.
Shock them. And Baker Mayfield is Baker friggin' Mayfield.
Yeah. Like a 40 touchdown season from him.
Insane.
A best case scenario.
Yeah, best case. Yeah.
Okay. Best case scenario for the Atlanta Falcons?
Best case scenario for the Falcons, I think the Falcons do have a little bit of that, like, well, if all of these superstar players, quote unquote superstar, if Bijan Robinson, if Drake London, if Kyle Pitts, if all these players take a huge step forward, I mean, they're all top 10 draft picks, if all that happens, like, okay, that is basically, that's why I think the Falcons do have a little bit of a higher upside, is the fact that they do have some unknowns. So we'll see what Rich says here. I would say best case scenario for the Falcons is probably like 12 wins. I would say best case scenario for them is 12 wins. Kirk Cousins is fully healed. And then, like I said, all those players finally realize their potential, and Bijan Robinson is a legitimate, like, the best running back in the NFL. Drake London is a legit star. Kyle Pitts is just a decent player, I guess. Like, if that probably is the best case scenario for the Falcons. So somewhere around 12-5 NFC Championship game, I would say is the absolute best case scenario for them.
Here you go.
But Kirk Cousins, like, again, ladies and gentlemen, Kirk Cousins, he's won one playoff game in his entire career. So it's really difficult. It is really difficult to ask a guy to do something he's never done before at this stage of his career, coming off of a torn Achilles. So to say, like, well, Kirk Cousins has never won back-to-back playoff games. Kirk Cousins is 1-4, I believe. Someone double check me. 1-4 in playoff games. So now you're going to tell me that coming off of a torn Achilles, first year in Atlanta, with a head coach who hasn't won nothing, with an offensive coordinator who's never even called plays, all of a sudden he's going to win 3 or 4 playoff games in a row? Oh, and Raheem Morris, who's never been a winning head coach, is all of a sudden going to be a winning head coach? Like, to ask all those players to do something they've never done before all at the same time seems a bit questionable.
They win the Super Bowl, and they give Arthur Blank his trophy.
Right.
And they made every right move, from signing Kirk Cousins and going and getting Raheem Morris as their coach, and he's putting something on the table of what he's selling, and everyone buys in, and Kyle Pitts has the season of his life, and Kirk Cousins finally has a spot in a dome, in a division.
He played in a dome. Minnesota was in a dome.
That he can go in and start throwing it around. He looks as spry as ever.
He's never looked spry.
This team balls out because Raheem Morris is bringing his style of play.
Raheem Morris' style of play, he's like 20 games under 500 as the head coach.
And on top of it, just for good measure, a couple of games that Cousins maybe gets hurt in.
So now, oh my God, now Cousins is getting hurt, and they're still winning the Super Bowl.
Gets knocked out in. Michael Penix comes in and wins both of them and shows that, yes, we needed this kid. He also, in a Super Bowl year with Kirk Cousins, gets the requisite amount of reps and real-time action in the NFL to start him off on the program that they are now going to be viewed as wisely undertaking. Get the kid who's next while you've got the veteran here to put the one in the case for Arthur Blank that they wanted to do. Is that the best case scenario for the Atlanta Falcons?
1,000%.
Would that be just all?
What the hell? Rich said, okay, here's the deal. Let's be really realistic with the Saints, but then let's go totally out of control with the Buccaneers and the Falcons. What? It's like I watched two different shows. He was Mr. Serious with the Saints. He was very locked in. He said, you know what? Let's be realistic here, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go 9-10 wins, divisional round. Okay. Then the very next team, he said, you know what? We're coming out guns blazing. You know what? We're coming out. We're saying, this guy shocks the world. This guy has an MVP season. This guy breaks this record, this, and then boom, Super Bowl. Boom, Super Bowl for you, Super Bowl for you, Super Bowl for you. Insane.
Off the charts, best case scenario for them.
But no quarterback controversy, right?
At all.
So Kirk's out a week with a concussion.
Right, and he comes
Penix
back.
Starts, wins the game,
right.
boom,
Kirk's just well enough to win, doesn't screw it up.
Right. Kirk
maybe gets a couple more times. And, of course, no controversy at all.
No controversy.
Because it's clearly Kirk Cousins' team, and they had such a great start that it's his team, and they love him, and he loves them, and Atlanta loves him, and he loves Atlanta, and Penix gets a couple of games in there, maybe a couple wins in, and they go and they win the Super Bowl.
Kyle Pitts scores.
By the way, in New Orleans. In the home of the Saints. Oh, my God, is that the best case scenario for the Atlanta Falcons?
Kyle Pitts scores American touchdowns.
All of them.
Bijan, 1,600. Drake London
Correct.
does. Okay,
right. Okay. Cousins is MVP. Offensive Player of the Year is Bijan Robinson. Penix gets some wins. They win the Super Bowl in New Orleans.
That would go.
That's what I'm saying. Like, and can y'all hear this, ladies and gentlemen? Do y'all hear Nitro Circus outside of my window right now? Evil Knievel must be jumping off of the roof or something. It's unbelievable. Unreal. But like I said, like Rich is obviously being tongue-in-cheek at the end there, saying that Cousins will be MVP, Bijan will be Offensive Player of the Year, 1,600 yards, whatever. But that is like what you have to do. And he kind of let himself get a little crazy. He let himself get a little loose there. And all of a sudden, boom, everyone's winning the MVP. So he got a little long in the segment. He started off hot. If the Saints would have been last in the segment, he probably would have given them a Super Bowl. He started off realistic. He got out of control at the end there. I think virtually Bucs, Falcons, Saints are all right there, like as far as their best case scenario. I think that, okay, hold on. Daniel Thompson, he's not saying that's what's going to happen, just a scenario. So he started off the segment saying these are realistic scenarios, right? Realistic scenarios that can happen. Best case, realistic scenarios. It's not realistic to say that the best case scenario is all these players win MVPs, all these players win Offensive Player of the Year, all these players have their best season ever, and they win the Super Bowl. So he was started off in the middle where he should have been, and he got all the way at the end there. But I think, like I said, all three teams are pretty much the same. The Falcons probably have a little bit of a higher ceiling because of the unknown of the young players, but I would say the Falcons, super best case, 12-5, NFC title game, somewhere in there. But, so that's what I think. Let's get caught up in chat here. Let's see here. Let's go up a little bit. Yeah. Baker is mobile. He was mobile against us last year, that's for sure. Baker is a much better athlete than people give him credit for. For sure. Brother just wrote The Lord of the Rings with that take. The media hyping up the Falcons and Bucs is crazy. It's just, Lacey, what I think it is I think it's that the media, like the Bucs and the Falcons, the Bucs have been the division champion, and the Falcons got Kirk Cousins, and that's all the media needs to like run with the narratives. You're right, it is lazy. I think the three teams are close, but we are the one with the highest ceiling. Carr's ceiling is higher than Cousins and Baker's. I mean, it depends on how you look at it. I mean, like I agree with that. I just think that when you have those young players that they have, if they do, we don't know what their like peak is. We have a pretty good idea what Alvin Kamara's peak is. We have a pretty good idea of what Derek Carr's peak is. We have a pretty good idea of what the defense's peak is for us. Same with Tampa. Tampa knows, like, okay, we know what the peak of Baker is. We know what the peak of Mike Evans is. We know what the peak of Chris Godwin is. But the Falcons, they truly don't know what the peak of Bijan, Drake, Kyle Pitts is just yet, I don't think. His opinions doesn't matter. It'll matter when the season begins. True. There you go. Big true and big real. That is big true and big real. I'm like T-Bob. I'll bet everything Falcons are not winning the division. I mean, I could see them not for sure. I could see the Falcons really struggling. I could see the Saints struggling. I could see the Buccaneers taking a step backwards. I mean, but I can see the Falcons, if Kirk gets hurt or if it just doesn't work in the first year. Like, first years are weird. First years are tough. You never know. Teams can need a year. I mean, the Saints just saw this. They needed a year to work things out. They needed a year to kind of get to know each other. They needed that whole growing period. The Falcons might too. Kirk Cousins is a weird dude. No hate. Kirk Cousins is a guy who he likes to play at noon. He likes to play in a dome. He likes his routine. So him going from Minnesota to Atlanta is shaking up his routine big time. Big time. He's in a new locker room, new coaches, new uniform, and trust me, the human element does matter. It does matter. Remember, James, Kirk can get hurt. Penix will win every game he plays. Yeah, it's insane. I mean, like, that's when he got off the rails. When he was like, whenever he said, "Oh, LOL," by the way, Kirk Cousins is going to get hurt in the Super Bowl run, and Michael Penix is going to step in and win, no problem. Division is up for grabs, and that's without injuries. Yeah, division is up for grab. I think it's a three horse race for sure. I might be the biggest Drake London hater. The Falcons have names on offense that should be really good, but all of their weapons have not produced. 100%. 100%. Yeah, they have big names. I mean, that's what I was saying with Bijan. I was saying that I still have Falcons fans slobbering all over their keyboards, crying their eyes out every morning because I said Bijan was just kind of okay last year. He was good, but he wasn't that much better than a lot of running backs that you would consider kind of okay. Like Bijan was not that much better than the DeAndre Swifts of the world or but because he's young, because he was drafted highly, because he has some highlight type plays, the media blows him out of proportion. It acts like he's the next LaDainian Tomlinson. Same with Kyle Pitts. Like, Kyle Pitts might as well be Juwan Johnson right now. Like Kyle Pitts was drafted, 8th overall, but for all we know, he's just Foster Moreau. We haven't really seen anything to be like, oh, this guy is a weapon. This guy's, he's really, really good. And Drake London, same thing. Drake London's okay. Drake London's all right. Is he a top 10 wide receiver? Probably not. Who's their second wide receiver, right? All of a sudden now you're getting to like you're reaching a little bit. Cousins is upset they drafted Penix. Yeah, 100%. That's another part of the human element. It's not impossible for all three teams to do well. True. And I think that's probably what will happen. Like I said, I think one team will be 10 wins, the next 9, the next 8, or 11, 10, 9. I could see that. They'll be right there. Falcons only got Bijan. They're not taking over the division. These analysts are crazy. Yeah. What's the update on Hooker? Apparently he's balling out there. All right, let's get into the next one. So now we are here. Crafty, here's your segment. So this is from our friends, our good friends over at NewOrleans.football. Nicholas, Michael. So here we go. NewOrleans.football grading the Saints offseason. Is ESPN's grade too harsh? Context. ESPN came out with this article where they ranked the entire NFL for their offseason. The Saints were dead last. Okay? Last two teams, Raiders, Saints. D for the Saints in their offseason. Now, this is controversial yet brave because Pro Football Focus gave the Saints an A for their offense or their offseason. We covered that video a couple weeks ago. So now we have combating views. One from Pro Football Focus, who knows what they're talking about. One from ESPN, who still employs Stephen A. Smith. So I don't put a lot of stock into this. I think it's crazy. I think it is a good example of a reporter. I'm not even sure who wrote this. A reporter who doesn't. What do they give the Cowboys? Let's see. They give the Cowboys a D+. D+. So the Cowboys are third to last. So I got a feeling this is a reporter This is a reporter who doesn't really know the Saints that well, is not hugely aware of how big the Clint Kubiak signing is. Not aware of some of the upgrades. So let's see what's going on here. But this is the context for the New Orleans.football video. So the biggest move was drafting Talise Fuaga in the first round. Move this person liked signing Chase Young. Move they disliked failing to trade veterans. The Saints are addicted to mediocrity. Okay? And because of that, they failed to improve their future selves this offseason. Now let me show you something. This is going to ruffle some feathers. So this hombre said the Saints are addicted to mediocrity. Now look at this. This is the Saints' last couple of seasons. 9-8, 7-10, 9-8, 12-4, 13-3, 13-3. Okay? So that's the last 6 seasons. Pretty damn good. All right? Pretty damn strong here. All right? Certainly, and you could say, well, Drew Brees, losing Drew Brees, whatever. But still, I certainly wouldn't call this 6-year stretch mediocrity. All right, you lose Drew Brees. You lose the best quarterback in franchise history, potentially best quarterback to ever play the game. You go 9-8 next year. Then you go 7-10, take a dip, come back up 9-8. Not bad, all right? Now let's look at some other teams. This is, who is this? The Miami Dolphins. Everyone loves them, right? Miami Dolphins, everyone loves the Dolphins. They're fun. They're exciting. Look at their 6 years. Pretty bad, right? So their last 6 years, 11-6, 9-8, 9-8, 10-6, 5-11, 7-9. Kind of looks like they might be addicted to mediocrity, doesn't it? Even with Mike McDaniel, even with Tua, even with the most exciting offense, all that stuff looks pretty mediocre. What about the Cincinnati Bengals? 4-11, 10-7, 12-4, 9-8, 4-11. Yeah, you could say, well, this is Joe Burrow. Well, Joe Burrow got hurt here. Well, this is this. Well, this is that. But it still shows you the ebbs and flows of a lot that can happen in a couple of years. Still, with Joe Burrow, with a Super Bowl run, you're looking at 10-7, 12-4, 9-8. Not that much different than 12-4, 9-8, 7-10, 9-8. Right? What about the Falcons? What about Rich Eisen's Super Bowl pick? The Falcons, last 6 seasons, 10-6, 7-9, 7-9, 4-12, 7-10, 7-10, 7-10. This is as mediocre gets right here. This is mediocrity. This is the biggest king of mediocrity. Okay? So just keep that in mind of context for whenever you hear people, analysts or reporters or whoever, say that the Saints are addicted to being mediocre. Because if I'm looking at all these teams, the Saints might be the least mediocre as far as like the results of the 6 seasons. They might be the least mediocre of these teams. So where the hell is all this mediocrity that this reporter is talking about? But let's keep going. Their salary cap situation is bad. True, but like I say, salary cap is pretty overrated, right? Because, again, we were in salary cap hell, and we signed Derek Carr to a $150 million contract. So, you can always maneuver the salary cap. You can always move stuff around and shift incentives and bonuses and cash and all this stuff, and the cap will work itself out. The Saints have $15 million in cap space despite quarterback Derek Carr, Marshall Lattimore, defenseman Cam Jordan, tight end Taysom Hill, Ryan Ramczyk, whatever, all having a base salary under $1.5 million to keep their 2024 cap hits low, which is exactly why the team is $77.6 million over the salary cap, over $50 million more than any other team. The team ought to be shedding as much salary as it can and converting the low salary players into draft capital via trades to jumpstart a full rebuild. Instead, the Saints are running it back with a 9-8 team led by Derek Carr. The team's big move in free agency was signing Young to a 1-year, fully guaranteed $13 million deal. It's not true. It's incentive based. If Chase Young doesn't meet the incentives, this turns into like a $4 million deal. Young had an above average 19% pass rate. Yep. Ramczyk will retire for sure. I mean, like, this is nothing. This is a bunch of nothing. They didn't even mention Clint Kubiak. Didn't even mention Clint Kubiak in this. Didn't even mention that the Saints completely overhauled their entire offensive staff. Didn't even mention that. That's crazy. That is nuts that it wasn't even mentioned in here, which shows that this reporter has no idea what they're talking about. Now let's see where they put the Atlanta Falcons. Let's see. They put the Atlanta Falcons. Are the Falcons number 1? Are the Falcons number 1, ladies and gentlemen? Are the Falcons even on here? C. Okay. Falcons are a C. Okay. So, again, this guy is telling the Saints, y'all should not go for it. He's telling the Saints, y'all are mediocre. Don't go for it. Shed this, shed that. But the Falcons, who, like we just saw, are the epitome of mediocrity, 7-10, 7-10, 7-10, 4-12, 7-9, 7. The Falcons haven't had a winning season since 2017. 7 years ago was the last time the Falcons won double-digit games. They are worse than mediocre. But you got this guy saying, well, the Saints shouldn't be making any moves. The Saints only won 9-8. They only went 9-8. But he is all in on Kirk Cousins off of a torn Achilles, getting $175 million guaranteed. Atlanta's biggest move in free agency was signing wide receiver Darnell Mooney. My God. Good Lord. Anytime your biggest move is signing Darnell Mooney, ooh, that's gross. All right, let's get back to the video, shall we? So that's context. So New Orleans.football grading the Saints offseason. It's ESPN's grade too harsh? Obviously, I think so. Let's see what they say.
ESPN, they went through and they graded every NFL team's offseason, and the Saints were at the bottom of the list along with the Raiders. So what do we think? Was it too harsh?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's too harsh, obviously. I get it. I get what it's like to look at the Saints from afar. Forget afar. The Saints fan base is lethargic. They were very disappointed last year. They stopped showing up. The Saints are in a little bit of a...
this part, I deal with this a lot in the comments. So the comments like to say, and I love the haters, but the comments like to say, I want to see it on the field because this team was ass last year. To which I say, it's a completely different team. Y'all ready for a Skrmetta for? Hold on to your butts, ladies and gentlemen. If you went to a restaurant, okay, here we go now. Here we go. If you went to a restaurant and the food was horrible, okay, terrible food, not good at all, bad, all right, and you heard that restaurant had completely new cooks, completely new chefs, kitchen staff completely turned over, and then you went back to that restaurant, would you say, well, I don't know, because last time I was here, the food was terrible? It's like, well, yeah, but it's totally different cooks. It's totally different. Just because the building is the same, just because the sign is the same, just because the uniforms are the same, if the cooks and the chefs and the staff is all different, what is it? That doesn't correlate at all to the previous staff's food. So it wouldn't make any sense to just say, I know this is going to be bad because last time I was here, the food was bad. When you know all the cooks and staff is different. That's what's happening with the Saints. Like Mike is saying, the fans were lethargic. The fans were upset last year. Big true and big real. But then what happened? Mickey told Pete Carmichael to put an egg in his shoe and beat it. And the rest of the offensive coaching staff, he fired them too. So what was causing the lethargy, now a lot of people might think it's lethargy, but it's lethargy. What was causing the lethargy, Mickey Loomis fixed it. Mickey Loomis said, okay, I know what the problem is. I know what the issue is. Get rid of them. Bring in the new, energetic, young, innovative offensive staff. And they did. So I don't understand. I don't understand how people are still concerned about last year. Yeah, last year was not cool. Last year was not fun. You know why I don't think this year will be the same? Because none of those people are still here. Pete Carmichael's not still prancing around the sidelines. Like, I don't get that part of this argument. I don't get why people are still living into last year. This is just like this is just like the Texans going into last season. The Texans going into last season. Why would you say, "Oh, I don't know, man. We were pretty bad on offense last year"? It's like, yeah, but we just drafted C.J. Stroud. Like, we have a whole new quarterback. You don't think he's different than Davis Mills? Like, you don't think Clint Kubiak is different than Pete Carmichael? You don't think Andrew Janocko is going to make a difference? Like, there's a lot of change here. The fans were upset in the Lions game. The fans were booing, including me. I was booing. The fans were booing because they wanted change. We got change. So why the hell are we still booing?
Stuck in the mud rut right now. They brought mostly everybody back. And look, I know Seth Walder really well, who did this. He's one of their top analytics people there.
I think he's a scrub. Seth Waters. So, you know, if he's one of the top guys there, that's what you need to hear about. That's all you need to hear about ESPN. Because, you know, Seth didn't mention Clint Kubiak. He didn't mention the offensive staff. He didn't mention any of that stuff. So some people say he's a top analyst. I say he's a scrub.
And he's looking at what everyone did, and this is the viewpoint he took. The Saints are addicted to mediocrity. That was his lead. But I think people just need to get over this concept that the Saints need to tear it down and rebuild. Like, I don't know why everyone wants them to become the Carolina Panthers so bad.
There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, Mike's getting fired up, and I like it. Well said, Mike. 100%. That's what I've been saying. Where is all this coming from that the Saints are like they need to tear it down? Where is all this coming from that the Saints are a horrible team with absolutely no upward trajectory? We won the same amount of games as the Buccaneers last year. Like, you know, it's not a situation where we're coming off of a 4-win season. Again, the Atlanta Falcons haven't won 9 games in 2017. We won 9 games last year. I was in a conversation and someone said that Derek Carr and Dennis Allen will never, ever bring the Saints over 500. And I had to tell them that the Saints were over 500 last year. Like, we were not as bad as people think, record-wise, and we are not as bad right now as people think. Like, I've never heard of a 9-8 team blowing it up. I've never heard of a team that lost the division because of a tiebreaker who won 4 of their last 5 games. I've never heard of that team having to blow it up and rebuild.
He gave we're going to talk about it later. I'm going to look it up here in a sec. A B to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who just recently.
Yeah. Let's take a look at it. Let's take a look. Oh, I already got out of it. How do you give a B to the Buccaneers? The Buccaneers got rid of Canales and overpaid for Baker Mayfield.
Signed Baker Mayfield. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers had the same record as the Saints last year.
I just said that, Mike.
They re-signed.
Is Mike in the chat? Mike, I just said that.
Baker Mayfield for $40 million. And they get a B? Like, what is the difference between that and this?
Mike, brother, if you're in the chat, just say it. You don't have to keep saying what I'm saying. I mean, respect. But that's 100% true. There is no difference between the Buccaneers, the Saints, and the Falcons, really. And yet the narrative surrounding the 3 teams are markedly different. We just heard Rich Eisen say that the Buccaneers can win the Super Bowl and the Falcons can win the Super Bowl, but the Saints might be able to win 9 games. What? Right? There is a narrative problem. And just like I said with Raheem Morris, people seem to really harp on Dennis Allen being a bad head coach. spoiler alert, Raheem Morris is a bad head coach, has been a bad head coach. And you may say, well, he'll turn it around this time. And then I can say, well, maybe Dennis Allen will turn it around this time. Like, you're looking at, then you can say, oh, well, the Saints have a new offensive coordinator. Like, he's a young OC. So do the Falcons. The Buccaneers lost their OC. Like, what's going on here? So I just don't understand why the narrative has shifted so much. It's ridiculous. And again, for this guy to be ESPN's top analyst, give me a break.
And actually, Tampa Bay lost star players like Devin White. Saints didn't lose anyone essential. They did let some guys go, like Marcus May and Andrus Peat and Isaac Yiadom. And guess what? That is saving money, like everyone wants them to do.
Yeah, and you know what's going to save money too when they restructure this Alvin Kamara contract? Because Alvin Kamara right now is going to make $25 million in 2025. That's not happening. So that's going to be a completely reworked contract. Taysom Hill's contract already got reworked. Ryan Ramczyk is going to retire after the season, getting rid of his contract, or not getting rid of it, but dealing with his contract. Like, it's crazy.
We've talked a lot on this show about how we like that the Saints did not throw in the towel.
Yes.
Still have a chance, if everything goes right, to win this division.
Yes.
Maybe finish 9-7, maybe finish 10-6. I think hiring Clint Kubiak can help them do that. But they didn't spend a lot of money. They didn't trade future draft resources.
Mike's still stuck in the 16-game NFL schedule. No hate, respect. I still mess that up too myself. I'm used to 16 games, but,
They added Chase Young, a young guy we're excited about.
Yep.
I'm actually pretty startled by this. I would think even if you are one of the people who wants the Saints to stop living in the past and start catching up and protect their future, I thought they kind of did that this year.
I mean,
Agreed.
I don't really think you can write this, right? I don't think you can write these lines because they don't make sense to me.
Thank you, Nicholas. Nick, are you in chat? I mean, it is unreal. Nick with the fresh cut, by the way. But, yeah, I mean, like, again, that's why, Mike said this guy's the top analyst, top this, top that. You cannot write those lines because they are not true. They do not make sense. They are not factually correct. So I really don't know. Or people might just not be watching the NFC South. And they might just be completely going off vibes. And they may just be going off, well, Baker Mayfield can dance a little bit. He's kind of cool. He's funny. And he got a good State Farm commercial. Oh, Kirk Cousins, I think he's good. And then that's just it. And then they write the article. Like they're just completely going off of vibes. And they're not actually watching the games or seeing what's going on with the teams.
The team ought to be shedding as much salary as it can and converting the low-salary players into draft capital via trades to jumpstart a full rebuild. Instead, the Saints are running it back with a 9-8 team led by Carr. The team's big move in free agency was signing Young to a one-year, fully guaranteed $13 million deal, a move I like. So shed salary or add salary? Like, which one do you want them to do?
Yeah, it's a joke. It's ridiculous. It really is. It's a complete joke. It doesn't make any sense. Horrible job from ESPN. I love the NOF guys. I mean, I got ads all over the place. But I like the NOF guys just completely agreeing with what we're saying here. It's ridiculous. The article doesn't make any sense at all. The grading doesn't make any sense at all. Yeah, it's too harsh. All right, let me check. Let me get caught up in chat. We are far from mediocre. 100% for Pammy Whammy. Pammy, did you make it home safely? Was the drive home safe? 2 hands on the wheel. How did it go? Let me know. Mike casually thinking what we're all thinking. Based Mike. Kubiak was the number 1 OC prospect by the media until he signed for the Saints. Now they act like he doesn't exist. It's insane that he wasn't mentioned in that article. I think we could be the surprise team this year. I don't understand how people have delusions we should have been in the playoffs last year. We're going to be all right. Yeah, I mean, exactly. Like we were this close. We were a tiebreaker away. We were a hurt shoulder for Derek Carr and Green Bay away from being a 10-win playoff team. Can you imagine if we were a 10-win division playoff team? Do you think Seth Water or whatever his name was would be saying that the Saints need to rebuild it and tear it down? No, of course not. So you're telling me the difference in rebuild and no rebuild is because of a tiebreaker and a busted shoulder in Lambeau? James explaining this is like Floyd Mayweather explaining the left jab. Whew, Ryan. That might be comment of the hour right there. You knocked that out of the park. Appreciate it. I think the fans were upset about the no staff changes in the offseason and then coming out awful. 100%. Richard, that's 100% correct. Last year, the Saints were pissed off the fans were pissed off that Pete Carmichael and everyone was retained, and then we had a bad start, and it proved the fans right, and they got into an absolute fever pitch. Safe and accounted for? There you go. There you go. If that hombre is the top analyst at ESPN, then a random person who's never watched football before can overtake him. So I've mentioned this before, and this is my prediction. ESPN and Fox Sports and all these big media conglomerates, they're going to get into trouble because they keep putting out stuff like this. 20 years ago, there wasn't people like me. There wasn't NOF. There wasn't anybody to check these guys. They could just say whatever they wanted, and it was gospel. But now you have all these basically like souped up beat writers, and that's basically what we are. We're like a new age beat writer. You have all these souped up beat writers who are checking these big media corporations. And so when Stephen A. Smith or whoever says something on screen that's not correct, or if there's an article that's not correct, we're here to put it on them. We're like Batman. And the more that happens, the more ESPN loses credibility and all the big media things lose credibility. I think people will, they already are doing it. I know it's happening. People are tuning in much more to the actual team covering people than the Seth Waters of the world. Imagine a world where New Orleans embraces DA and it has lasting success. They'll embrace him if he wins. Winning is the greatest Band-Aid. I really don't take stock in what ESPN people say. I say my opinions on the team based on what I've seen, not what I've heard. I think we'll make it to the playoffs, and while Carr will do very well, I don't think that we have the clutch factor that other playoff-worthy teams do. Maybe not. We'll see. Derek Carr will throw 0 picks. I guarantee you he will throw a pick this season. And that will be okay. That'll be okay. All right, let's get into some voice messages, huh? Let's get into some voice messages, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, and remember, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget, follow the boy on Twitter. If you want live up to the minute. Oh, there's me right there. If you want, look at the thumbnail work, ladies and gentlemen. Look at the thumbnail work. Come on. Come on. Who else is making thumbnails like this? If you want updates on videos, if you want, random random bets that we're taking, again, the thumbnail, unbelievable. Just any kind of conversation here. Just 3 videos on a Monday. The Madden channel, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget to go over there, watch how I would run the Saints. We are in our 3rd season. But make sure you're following the channels to stay up to date with what's going on. A little Clash at the Castle, professional wrestling coverage. Unbelievable. What about this, ladies and gentlemen? Did y'all see this? I posted this on my Twitter. Look at this. Look at this. This is the first 50 games. First 50 games, ladies and gentlemen. Trevor Lawrence gets $275 million for these first 50 games. Baker Mayfield got cut because of these first 50 games. Ryan Tannehill got cut because of these first 50 games. Daniel Jones is about to get cut for these first 50 games. Derek Carr looks like Joe Montana in his first 50 games compared to Trevor Lawrence. And somehow Trevor Lawrence gets $275 million. Why? Because he has long hair and he's 6'5". That's it. He is easily the worst of these 4. Look at Ryan Tannehill compared to Trevor Lawrence. Ryan Tannehill is like the king of the universe. Oh, but Trevor Lawrence is mobile. Is he? Is he? Yeah, exactly. He does a Head and Shoulders commercial. He does a Head and Shoulders commercial? Nuts. Absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. All right, ladies and gentlemen. But like I said, make sure you're checking out the Twitter, the Instagram, all the different channels, all the different pages, all the gaming channel, the Madden channel, and whatnot. All right, let's get involved. Let's get into the voice messages. James, please tell. Oh, what's up, Kermit? Well, James, please tell us about the boos when they cheered Taysom and booed Carr. Which game was it? That was the Detroit Lions game in the Superdome. I was there. It was the most surreal thing I've ever seen in the dome. It was absolutely insane. The boos were deafening. It was unbelievable. It was one of the craziest things I've ever witnessed. It was absolutely insane to watch. It really was. All right. We got 4 voice messages. Derek Carr will be better as long as he's able to call plays like Breeze. He will not do that. I tell you that. Clint Kubiak is going to run a very efficient, tight ship. Trevor Lawrence won tough enough. Stone cold. He's been getting the popularity for a while. It's the game works. Okay, there you go. It's how the game works. I get it. I get it now. All right. So we got 4 voice messages up. Again, ladies and gentlemen, speakpipe.com. I have the link in all of my videos. If you want to drop a voice message, we listen to it live. So the first one is from Divine Eternity, who I believe is in chat. He is, yes. He's in chat. This is from Divine Eternity, commenter extraordinaire. Let's go ahead and take a listen, shall we? Let me make sure my headset is on. All right, let's rock and roll.
Yo, James, you're the OG.
Okay, my headset is off. All right, my headset's off. I turned it off. I gotta turn it back on. Do you still go on your subreddit? I do, yes. Subreddit is a great place to drop videos, drop any kind of questions, anything like that. Here we go. Now my headset is back on.
And I appreciate the content. My question is it good or bad that the Saints have tough competition at the beginning of the schedule? The back end of our schedule is pretty manageable, and
yes.
I believe most teams are still trying to find their rhythm and get back in playoff form when it's that early in the season. And on top of that, the new NFL rules are going to impact a lot of games too, because most of the players are still going to be trying to get used to it. So that's my question.
Great question. Yeah, I do think it's an advantage to play the tough teams early. The Chiefs are a team that has routinely come out of the gates kind of slow. A lot of teams do come out of the gate slow, especially when there's a change, or there's a change at OC or DC or head coach or quarterback or whatever. Like the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons will not be as good in week 2 as they are in week 16 because it's their first couple of games with each other. It's Zach Robinson, their offensive coordinator's first couple games as an OC, right? I also think it makes the team focus more. I think the Saints knowing they're playing the Dallas Cowboys and the Kansas City Chiefs early means they got to focus more. And they're circling those games. Everybody wants to go to Arrowhead, right? Everyone wants to play the Chiefs in prime time. Everybody wants to do that. So you're circling that game. So if that game is circled on the calendar and you're in week 3 or whatever, you are going to hit practice hard. You're going to hit training hard. You're going to try and study hard. You're going to be focused. Oh, and also it's a benefit because those teams, like the Chiefs, like the Cowboys, like the Panthers, have only seen one version of the Saints. So for the first couple of weeks, how the Saints will look offensively is the first time these teams have ever seen that. They have absolutely no idea what the Saints offense is going to look like. No clue. They cannot prepare for it until they see it. At the end of the year, teams will have a better idea of what we're going to do. They'll have a better idea of how the offense works, how we call things. We're a total mystery to start the season. So if we're a total mystery, we don't have really any new players to really get caught up to speed or anything as far as like moving and being in a new locker room and all that stuff like Kirk Cousins, like we talked about earlier. Because of that, yeah, I do think it's good that we're playing the tough teams early because we do have an advantage. If we execute, it's all up to execution. If we execute the way that we should execute, yeah. If we don't, then it doesn't matter when we play them. So, great question. But yeah, I think it is an advantage. I do. Next up, Christopher. Minute 25 seconds. Respect. Christopher bringing the minute 25 to our doorstep.
Hey, James. This is Chris here. You might know me from the comment section under Cajun Legend.
The Cajun Legend himself, Christopher.
Just real quick, I wanted to ask, we always talk about, you always talk about, what you think the ceiling is for the Saints and being realistic and everything. And I agree 100%, everybody needs to have realistic expectations of what the season could hold. And I do think that I'm very optimistic as far as what the season is going to look like. I'm very optimistic on the impact that Kubiak's going to have.
Same. I'm very optimistic on this season for the Saints. 100%. I am, I'm positive about the changes. I believe in the changes. I could be wrong, but I am positive going into the season.
But my question to you is, why are you so dead set on, say a deep playoff to Super Bowl run is very fairy tale, I guess you could say, because I don't understand why it wouldn't be possible, because I feel like, most of our issues was with Pete Carmichael. So if we replaced him with someone as good as Clint, I don't see why a Super Bowl run couldn't be a thing, pending performance and everything else.
Okay. I mean, good question. Great question. I like that. So there's a few different answers to this question. So first of all, there's something called ranges when you're looking to, if we're going to go to poker. Let's talk about poker. When you're playing poker, you want to put your opponents in ranges. You want to put, or even if you're playing blackjack, right? You believe that there's a range, there's a percentage, there's a chance, your outs. If you're playing really anything, you have to have percentages of victory and percentages of losses, and then you use those percentages to kind of project whatever's going to happen. If you're flipping a coin, the percentages, right? 50-50. There is a chance that the coin lands perfectly, vertically, and it's neither head nor tails, right? So there's always the highest variable. There's always the highest, a random team goes on a run and wins the Super Bowl, or a random team goes undefeated, or a random team loses every game. There's always those highly polarized ends. But I think it's better to stay in the ranges. And you stay in those ranges to give you a better idea of what to expect and what to judge everything on. Of course, if the Saints make the playoffs, then they could go on a crazy run like Joe Flacco did with the Ravens, or like Nick Foles did with the Eagles, and they could win the Super Bowl. Sure. No doubt about it. But it's better, the way that I operate, is better to stay in the realm of reality. And then if the surprises happen, the surprises happen. If you're down 9-0 in the bottom of the ninth inning, the game isn't over, but it is a fairy tale to come back and win the game, right? Is it impossible? No. If you simulate it out 1,000 times, does it happen 10 times? Probably not, but it might happen 5 or 6 times. So, the fairy tale always exists, but to project it, to predict it, to, expect it, or to hope for it, I think is dangerous. Because then, if the Saints win 11 games, win the NFC South, and host a playoff game and lose, that is a very successful season. But if you are expecting a Super Bowl, all of a sudden, that's a very disappointing season. So it warps reality. Just like if the 9-0 bottom of the ninth situation, if you're expecting the fairy tale, but you score 5 runs and lose 9-5, on one hand, it's like, damn, well, we did put up a rally at the end there, kind of made it comfortable. But if you're expecting the comeback, expecting the fairy tale, you're crushed, right? So that's one of the answers, okay? The other answer, I think it's very difficult for a team or a player to go from good to the best. So like the Jacksonville Jaguars, good example. Or the Detroit Lions, good example. But the Jaguars, 2 years ago, when they won the playoff game and all that, everybody was picking them to win the AFC Championship. Everyone was picking them as their dark horse team. Everybody. Everyone was picking Trevor Lawrence to win the MVP. Everyone said Jacksonville was ready to take the next step. But then when I was saying, this is the team that won like 3 games, 5 games, then 10 games, and now you expect them to go to that next level and win a Super Bowl? It takes time. It takes time to learn how to win. It takes time to learn how to be a NFC champion. It takes time to learn how to be a conference champion or to be a Super Bowl champion or to appear in a Super Bowl. All that takes time. So, like the Texans, are they ready all of a sudden to take that next step? Are they ready to all of a sudden be, oh, they're an AFC contender? Jordan Love's a good example. Oh, Jordan Love's a franchise guy. Is he a franchise guy? He had a good season. The Texans won 10 games. The Saints won 9 games. The ESPN wants the Saints to tear it down and rebuild, and they're predicting the Texans to win the AFC. That's a great example of how narratives and fairy tales and all of that can get you in some serious trouble. Okay? So I think it's an incremental thing. I think and like I said, of course, the fairy tale does happen where there is no incremental jumps and a random team, Leicester City in the Premier League, if y'all follow soccer. I know a lot of y'all do. Leicester City was like 5,000 to 1 the year they won the Premier League. It was an absolute fairy tale. It was an absolute dream. A couple of years later, they get relegated. Like, yeah, if you simulate out the Premier League season that year 1,000 times, Leicester might only win it 1 time. And we saw the 1 time. We saw the miracle. We saw the fairy tale. But you don't want to go into the season saying, oh, yeah, Leicester's going to win the Premier League this year. Like, they could, I guess, but you got to be able to separate fairy tale from prediction or analysis. So that's my 2-part answer to a very good question. But I mean, and it is confusing sometimes when you can be super positive. Like I am positive on the Saints this season. I am happy with the changes. I do think Clint Kubiak's a good coach. I do think all this is trending in the right direction. But again, I don't think 12 wins is feasible. Like I don't think 12 wins is something that would happen like more than 10 to 15% of Sims. So I think I really think the way that I look at it is because of sports betting. I really do. Because I just see everything as like the percentages and I'm looking at the numbers and all of that, and then so I think that's why I stay away from all of like the super grandiose projections. Get caught up in chat here. People confuse what they want versus what we need to accomplish our goals at hand, which is at least winning the division. Great point. That's a good point, CJ. Where people say like we're going to win the division, and then say we're going to win the division. I predict Saints go 14-3, and it's like, well, hold on a second. If the Saints are 14-3, they're probably the best team in the NFL. Like you don't have to be 14-3 to win the division. You could be 11-6 and win the division. Like you're taking a baby step with winning the division, but then you're taking a huge step with winning 14-3 13, 14 games, right? Like, so, like, if you're I think the Bengals, I think their win total is only like 10. I think their win total is 9.5 or 10, right? The Bengals are a Super Bowl contender, for sure. But even a team like that with Joe Burrow, who has been to the Super Bowl, like, it's really hard to win 11, 12, 13, 14 games. It's really hard to get to a Super Bowl. Like, there are really good teams. There are Aaron Rodgers-led, MVP-led, 15-1 Packers teams who didn't even make the Super Bowl. It is very difficult to do that. So to predict it is, I think, a little reckless. I hope y'all in Louisiana know how much our Ohioans appreciate our symbiotic relationship in college and pro football. I have much love for Ohio. I have a lot of good people who either live in Ohio, went to school at Ohio State, who I've known for a while now, and yeah, I root for the Ohio teams for all my pals from there. Same with the Texans. There you go, Brute. There you go. Yep. Actual winning bettors don't get caught up in Stephen A. Smith's narratives. Agreed. I would assume ESPN is on very little. First Take is on very little in some of the syndicates meetings. Hey James, have you ever thought about having a meet and greet down here in New Orleans? I've never really thought about it. I mean, it is one of those things where, I think as the channels and as all this grows and it keeps getting bigger and bigger, more opportunities will happen. Whether those opportunities are things like merch, whether it's things like meet and greets, whether it's things like giveaways, whether it's things like live podcasts, somewhere, whether it's like, live, there's all kind of stuff that could happen. There's no plans for it right now. I'm always open to ideas or whatever else. So that's, we're taking it one day at a time, but I'd be open to anything. Yeah, I'd be open to any of the ideas. Like I think it would be smart for like a place like Harrah's, like the casino here. Like I think it would be smart for them to like sponsor a live like draft showing or something like that, and try and collaborate with the channel. So you never know what'll happen. Is the next episode of the Madden franchise Sunday? Maybe I might try and get it out earlier, Divine, but Sunday we'll have an episode, but I might try and get the next one out earlier. It feels like DA has accepted mediocre pass rush, but balances it with great secondary. I think the pass rush wasn't. I think Cam Jordan going down really hurt things. I'm thinking that Chase Young's going to really change that. At least I hope so. All right, Dante is up next. The Inferno himself. 31 seconds of greatness. Let's go ahead and listen to what Dante has to say. Okay, now I got to refresh the page. Classic speak pipe.
Hey, Big Dog James. How's it going, man?
Man, there's nothing like dropping a big dog. I mean, that's got to be the best possible way to just introduce yourself. You drop a big dog on somebody, God, I mean, there ain't nothing better. There ain't nothing better than walking in, hitting somebody with a, hey, big dog. I mean, that normalize that, ladies and gentlemen. Normalize just dropping a big dog on somebody.
Man, hope you're having a good day. I had two questions. The first is, what do you think of the Brandon Ingram rumors surrounding his trade value or any trades that might be plausible, such as Trae Young or DeJounte Murray?
Yeah, I mean, the Brandon Ingram thing, not good. I'll tell you that if you're a Pelicans fan. I've been a season ticket holder for the Pels for 3 seasons now, go to almost every home game. So I've had to watch this for way too long. But, yeah, I mean, the Brandon Ingram situation is bad. The latest news was we tried to trade him to Houston for Sagoon, and Houston told us to GTFO, which obviously when you have a rumor like that go out, it's going to lower Brandon Ingram's trade value. All of a sudden now, Ingram's trade value is like maybe we can get role players for him. That's not good. That's not good when you're, I mean, it wasn't too long ago Brandon Ingram was the franchise guy. And all of a sudden now it's like he's maybe tradable for like a Cam Johnson package. Like, that's tough. But, the game has changed also. Ingram is a slower, less athletic, doesn't play defense, mid-range kind of guy. In an NBA where players are getting more athletic, playing more defense, shooting more, playing faster, like, is he really that number one anymore? I don't know. So I hope we do find a way to get off of him. I do hope we find a way to trade him and get more assets. I think the team does need to get deeper and more talented. But yeah, the news is not good at all. When you hear that you're theoretically your second best player can't be traded for Sagoon, not good.
And if the other question is if you would be interested / would you do more Pelicans content?
Yeah, I would. I think this season coming up we'll probably push more Pelicans content. I'm up for any content that the viewers want to see. Like, obviously the main channel, this channel, focuses on the NFL, sports, and the Saints. The Saints would be the top priority, then the NFL, then sports would be the third. We do videos. We have done Pelicans videos. We have done other sports videos. We just did a Trevor Lawrence video. We did a Caitlin Clark video a couple weeks ago. So we do cover it all. And I do plan on covering, college football happenings, Pelicans happenings, things like that. So that will be part of the channel. The way I look at it, like, if I have an opinion, if I have a video that I believe is good for y'all, like it's good analysis or good coverage or whatever, I don't really care what the topic is. We're going to publish it, So, like yesterday's video. Yesterday's video was kind of a video essay on why Drew Brees has never won the MVP, and I felt like that was a better use of y'all's time watching that video than me talking about, Isaiah Foskey or whoever else at minicamp. So we're never gonna move stuff around. We're never gonna publish the same videos or stick to the same thing just because it works. That's the fun part of this channel. But yeah, we'll cover some Pel stuff. That series versus Thunder was some of the worst basketball I've ever seen. God, so bad. Last season was awful. Last season was my least enjoyable season of Pelicans basketball. 100%. It was so bad. I have never disliked it. I have never disliked one of my favorite teams more than last season's Pelicans. I mean, it was just, they were unrootable for. That's tough. Wait, let's see here. It's the next episode of the Madden franchise Sunday. We got to get a Madden simulation. That could be cool. You speak my language. Tay-Tay and AK both lined up in the back. If Saban got Drew, we never get our Lombardi. Probably right. Yeah, probably right. Probably right. Oh, Thunder and Lightning. Taylor and AK. I see. The Pelicans are not starting the offseason well. That's for sure. No, they are not. Currently, we're talking about Willie Green being the next Pistons head coach. Who the hell is going to be the Pelicans head coach? Brandon Ingram we can't find a deal for him. Brutal. At least Zion was healthy, but I wish we would have seen more development from our young players. Yeah, 100%. I'll tell you what really happened last year was the fun parts of the Pelicans, like Jose and Larry and Najee and Dyson, like that whole rotation were horrible. So we had no energy. Because whenever Jose got in the game and whenever the rotation was Jose, Larry, Najee, Dyson, and CJ, it was like, we can't score. This rotation cannot score. We cannot score with this. Cannot score with this rotation. It was miserable to watch. But 2 years ago, like, Jose was the best parts of the game. Larry Nance was the best part of the game. Right? Like, Najee was awesome. But now they don't. A Madden live stream? What's up, Uncle Chap? Yes. We're definitely going to do that. I need to figure out how to stream on the Madden channel. Because right now I think it's only set up for the main channel. So I need to get that figured out. But when I do get that figured out, we are for sure going to be doing Madden live streams and definitely Madden 25. So, yeah, I got to get all that set up because for some reason I can only stream on this channel right now, I think. But I don't want to put Madden stuff on here, obviously. Drew Holiday leads the Pelicans and wins 2 championships for 2 different teams in his first year. Yeah, crazy, man. Maybe. I mean, it is nuts. That is crazy, though, Brian. Normalize the use of big dog. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, just tomorrow, when you're walking around your daily life, just hit somebody with a big dog. You know, hit somebody with a, what's up, big dog? Just drop that on them. Instead of saying, how are you doing? How are you doing, sir? How are you doing, ma'am? Good morning, sir. Like, instead of saying that, just drop a, what's going on, big dog? Really lean into it.
Be interested / would you do more Pelican?
Okay, so we listened. All right, so that's Dante's. Good stuff, Dante. The last call of the night from Matt. 42 seconds from Matt, from Matthias. Let's see here. It's crazy how we went from the 4th seed to the 8th seed in less than a month. God, so bad, man. We blew so many games. So many. Straight up Riley Reeded the entire second half. All right. Here we go from Matt. 7 hours ago. So right around noon. High noon. Matt probably had a sandwich in one hand, microphone in the other hand, just letting it rip on speakpipe.com to the face of the franchise.
The first question is, do you play fantasy football?
Yes, I have one fantasy football league I've been doing for a long time now. It's a very serious fantasy league, you know, off-site draft, all that kind of stuff, loser punishments. Yeah, very serious fantasy league. I only do one fantasy league. And it sounds cliche, but honestly, I think it's like once you start sports betting, it's very difficult to play fantasy sports. You know, so it's like, you know, it's almost like fantasy sports is almost a gateway to, you know, actually betting on the games. But I do play fantasy football and fantasy baseball. One fantasy football league, one fantasy baseball league. Both very serious, both very competitive, and that's enough for me.
Second, if so, do you have any recommendations for any players that you would consider to have a high fantasy value?
Matt is very well spoken. Matt, if you're in the chat, let me say that. Very well spoken. So it depends on the league, obviously, but if you're in a league where receptions, a PPR league, a points per reception league, ladies and gentlemen, Alvin Kamara obviously would be a huge pick because he's probably going to be undervalued because he had a bad year last year. But we would assume his receptions are going to skyrocket because of the system. We would assume his rushing yards are going to skyrocket because of the system. So I would say Kamara is a must. Y'all hear this, ladies and gentlemen? I would say Kamara is a must draft in the later rounds. So he's my first guy.
On the current Saints roster. In addition to that, I'm curious if you think that there are any potentially underrated or undervalued players that could potentially get a lot of points.
Yeah, Kamara. I would say he's undervalued and probably underrated as well.
I know a lot of times people point at Taysom Hill.
Yeah, you know, Taysom's boom or bust because Taysom is a touchdown and he's awesome. No touchdown, enjoy your 3 points because he doesn't get enough volume to get a lot of points. He's only going to touch the ball 5 or 6 times. So if he doesn't have a touchdown, you're talking about 3 carries for 22 yards and 1 catch for 9 yards. Okay, cool. Here's 4 points. You know, take these 4 points and shove it. So, but 4 points is one thing. 12 points is awesome, right? Like you get 6 points because of a touchdown, you get another catch, another carry, whatever. All of a sudden, damn, you got 11 points, 12 points from Taysom. Sweet. But he's not going to play quarterback that much anymore. Maybe not at all. So I would not recommend Taysom Hill. Yo, James, you have to make a fantasy football league with us viewers? Ooh, that's a good idea. We might have to figure something out. Get a couple leagues going, a couple giveaways. Okay, now I'm gonna think about that.
It'd be a bit of a crapshoot, but I just wanted to hear your insight on actually drafting Saints players for fantasy football.
Yeah, I mean, besides Kamara, I think obviously you look at Olave, but even Olave, it's like you just don't. The problem is with fantasy, you need to be able to project out their usage. We don't have the ability to project out the usage of Chris Olave or the usage of Alvin Kamara, or we can do Kamara, but not Olave. We can't predict the usage of Rashid or Taysom because we haven't seen it yet, right? So, like Olave, you would think he's going to have a big year, but I also wouldn't be surprised if they spread the ball out. I also wouldn't be surprised at all if Kubiak found a way to get everyone involved. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, damn, Olave's sweet, but he doesn't get the usage that I want to really like make this a valuable selection. So I honestly, I really couldn't recommend, and I wouldn't recommend any of the tight ends. I mean, Foster doesn't really do much. Jawan Johnson's hurt. I don't know enough about the rookies. Again, like Kamara's sweet, but beyond him, like Jamal Williams, no, he doesn't get touchdowns anymore. Kendra Miller, what's his usage going to be? I don't know. A.T. Perry, same thing. Like we know the Saints are probably going to be a bottom 5-ish team and 3 wide receiver sets. What is that, as far as like usage of personnel packages? What does that mean for A.T. Perry? What does that mean for Rashid Shaheed? Some of the new rules, like does that make certain players like Rashid more valuable or less valuable? I don't know. So there's a lot of volatility with the personnel with the Saints. So it'd be very difficult for me to recommend drafting any of them. And Carr is the same way because I think Carr will have a good year. But if that good year is 33 touchdowns and 3,900 yards, like you can probably get that from everybody. You can probably get that from an undrafted quarterback. Yeah, good call. Very well spoken. Yeah. Always enjoy those calls. The speak pipe is awesome. I'm really glad we started doing that. It's so cool to be able to hear y'all kind of direct what we're talking about. Anthony, yo, what's going on, James? What's happening, Anthony? How you doing? How are you doing? Good stuff. Good stuff. Very nice. Yeah, that was solid, man. That was a solid stuff on a Thursday. These are great. I hope y'all are enjoying them. Let's look at what's on the Saints content board right now. We got Locked On Saints, 3 things the Saints offense must have to find early success in 2024. Why the New Orleans Saints should target Brandon Ayuk. He would be sweet. Yeah, I mean, obviously he's awesome. Doing pretty good. Just came up from work to see your live stream. Best thing to come home to. Boom. There you go. 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. on Thursdays. We're going to try and be streaming. Do you think the run game will improve? Yes, I think the run game will improve. I think the run game will improve because Kubiak and this wide zone running scheme, I think is going to lend itself to what we want to do. And I do think it'll be beneficial. It'll be much better than just pounding Kamara in between the tackles. James, what do you think of Bub Means considering he's had a bad quarterback situation in college? Yeah, it's hard to get worse than Pittsburgh. But I think Bub could be okay from what I'm hearing. My sources say he's a bit raw. He's a bit of a raw route runner, a bit of a raw athlete. So he may take a little development. So I wouldn't expect to see much of him this year. But I think he's an off the charts athlete. And he's in a good system to learn, develop, and we can figure out something to do with him. Eric McCoy, NOF, McCoy, NOF. Yeah, I saw they got McCoy. Good stuff for the boys. 45 minutes long. So for me, that's about a 3.5-hour reaction. So I may have to do that one in parts throughout the week. If we got Carr 25 to 30 touchdowns and 3,800 to 4,000 yards, yeah, that's probably about right. I would say somewhere around 30 to 35 touchdowns and 3,800 to 4,000 yards is probably dead on. So if I told you a quarterback's going to have 31 touchdowns and 4,000 yards, would you draft him? Probably not. ideally, who would you trade Ingram for, and what are the Pelicans' biggest needs besides head coach? Pelicans need depth. The Pelicans get absolutely boom roasted, absolutely rolled whenever they have to bring in their second units and third units, because our second and third unit are terrible, cannot score, and other people's second and third units are legitimate all-stars. So we got to get more depth. We got to get shooters. We have to get a big guy who's athletic. Watching Jonas try and run with, athletic bigs who can stretch the floor, run in transition, and shoot the three, and Jonas has concrete blocks for feet. Tough. So we need like a Miles Turner type player, some kind of athlete down there. I think Zion wants to run in transition. I think that's where he's best. So players that can run in transition. We probably need a true point guard. We don't have a true point guard. CJ's been the point guard. So if we got someone like, it's unique because we need someone who can run. So we need fast transition athletes, but we don't want people who can't shoot, because then all it is just ISO ball and us, trying to get to the basket and get in the lane. But that's what Zion wants to do. So that creates like this clog of just everyone spread out, everyone does ISO, everyone attacks the basket, and no one can shoot. So we need a point guard who can distribute, but also draws attention, who can dish. We need shooters. We don't need more Zions. We don't need more defensive-only players. Like if you look at Herb Jones, Dyson Daniels, Najee Marshall, Larry Nance, they're just defensive specialists who really can't score. I mean, Herb Jones is one of our best players, and he averaged like 10 points a game. In today's NBA, that ain't going to work, right? So we need a lot, honestly. We need a lot, but we need to fill the roster up with talent. Sad thing about the Pelicans is they are too cheap to go over the luxury tax. What I don't get about the Pelicans is like they have all these picks. What the hell are we doing with them? Trade them. Trade the picks. Ingram and CJ plus 2 thirsty firsties for Darius Garland and Jared Allen. That'd be sweet. That'd be sweet. But we have all these picks. Like, get rid of them. Go get guys. Go get DeJounte Murray. Go get Cat. Go get like all these players and just go for it. If another professional sports team came to New Orleans, what would you name them? I like the Crew. I think the New Orleans Crew would be sweet. Krewe. Obviously, I think the Jazz would be sweet. So those are the first two that come to mind. Like the New Orleans Crew for a hockey team would be sweet, or for a soccer team, like an MLS team or an NHL team. I mean, those are fantastic names. That might be my favorite one, the New Orleans Crew. There you go. Boom. The Brass would be cool. Columbus Crew? Yeah, this is Krewe. Like a Mardi Gras crew. Yeah, but like the Brass would be sweet. Brass, Crew, Jazz, those would all be good. What would not be good? The Pelicans. Why do you think Carr gets constant slander? Baker's being praised like Carr wasn't better in almost every other category except passing yards. Easy answer. Baker won the NFC South. And easy answer number 2, Baker can dance. Baker has a super cool media personality, and he's funny, and people like him. It's crazy how all that really all factors in. But that's really it, because don't forget, Baker was cut 2 years ago. Baker was cut by the Rams, who on the staff was Liam Cohen, who is now his offensive coordinator. He was cut by the Browns, or traded from the Browns, who he took to 13 wins or whatever it was, and almost beat Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. So, Baker, it's crazy how fast it turns. People act like Baker's the greatest player of all time, and they don't mention that he's on his 4th team. The Panthers didn't want him. The Panthers are dog water. The Panthers are one of the worst teams, the worst team in the NFL, and they told Baker, see you later. So narratives like that change, and they change quick, man. They change real quick. That's why I'm telling you, you gotta stick to the analytics. You gotta stick to the stats. You gotta stick to reality. You gotta stick to your own, like what's actually happening. You have to stick to that. Stay with that, and you'll be okay. If you get stuck into the, oh, Baker's got a new commercial. He's awesome. Let's give him $150 million. That's how you ruin a franchise. Best Creole and Cajun restaurant at NOLA. Whew, man. Good question. It's tough because that food, like Creole Cajun food, you get it so frequently here. Like it's just it's everywhere. You know, everyone has red beans. Everyone has gumbo. Everyone has jambalaya. Everyone has, etouffee and shrimp and grits and whatever. And it's, we are spoiled when it comes to that. But honestly, I'm kind of used to it. I'm kind of normalized with it. So it's hard for me to pick. Like, it'd be like going to Buffalo or something and be like, what's the best Buffalo wings? It's like, well, there's 20 different 5-star restaurants. Like, how do you pick one? So the best red beans I've had since living here was a restaurant called Miss River, though, for what it's worth. Miss River. Best red beans I've had. Baker has fundamental issues with his throwing motion and footwork. It's not good. He's just scrappy and can get hot. Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's scrappy. Like, that's it. That's it. Baker's scrappy. So but that's the whole thing. Like, have I ever had Gator? Yes. I think it's all right. I think it's okay. I don't love it, but I don't hate it either. But it's like it almost tastes like a cheap cut of beef. But like, it's the double-bladed sword because Baker is scrappy, which makes people like him. But that's also what makes teams not give him $275 million because he's scrappy and he's short and everything else. Baker has been to more teams than Andy Dalton, if not the same. Yeah. Well, let me. That's a good point. Let me take a look at this. Let me do a quick comparison here. Do a quick comparison. Crafty, you'll like this one. Let's see. Let's go to. All right, let's take. Let's see here. Choose seasons. Let's see if I'm right here. All right, here you go. What do you think about this? How crazy is this? So we're comparing Andy Dalton's first 48 games with Trevor Lawrence's first 50 games. One of these guys got $275 million. And one of them didn't. How crazy is that? I mean, look at this. Andy Dalton was 30-18. Andy Dalton had 80 touchdowns and 49 interceptions. Trevor Lawrence has 58 touchdowns. Andy Dalton played, I mean, when was this? 2011? Yeah. So 2011? You know how different the NFL was back then? In the AFC North, yeah. In the snow. This is nuts. Like, which one of these, like, if I told you which one of these quarterbacks is better, what would you say? If Andy plays 2 more games, he has more passing yards. If he plays 2 more games, he's got more passing yards, way more touchdowns, better quarterback rating. He already has way more wins. This is wild. This is shocking right here. This is wild to see. The guy on the left is the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. And the guy on the right is Andy freaking Dalton. This right here is all narrative. This right here is all marketing. This right here is Head and Shoulder commercials. Trevor Lawrence was the first overall pick. Trevor Lawrence beat Alabama. Trevor Lawrence won national championships. So people think he's a franchise quarterback. But then you look at this and it's like, damn, he's just a B-rate Andy Dalton. I mean, 20 and 30 gets you $300 million. 20 and 30, these numbers right here on the left get you the same amount of money as Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson. Get you $10 million a year more than Patrick Mahomes. This is nuts. I mean, this is crazy. Andy Dalton, 80 touchdowns. At this pace, it's going to take Trevor Lawrence like 3 more seasons to get 80 touchdowns. Andy Dalton had more passing yards a game. Like Crafty said, with a defensive-oriented Bengals team. Trevor Lawrence plays in the highest, like the fastest, highest high-flying NFL offense ever, as far as of an era. And he has weapons. Trevor Lawrence has Travis Etienne. He's had Christian Kirk. He's had Calvin Ridley. You know, I mean, great hair gets you 230. Yeah. That's it. Hire a PR team, ladies and gentlemen. Man, this is nuts. This is one of the, I mean, I didn't think it would be this close. I really didn't. I thought it might be close. I didn't think the touchdowns and the yards would be close. I knew the record, Andy would have a better record, but damn, Jacksonville, what are y'all doing? But then, what do you hear? What have you heard since? All you've heard since is, oh, Jacksonville had to do it. You got to get your guy, sign the franchise guy. And no one, I have not heard a single person. I have not heard a single person say, what the hell, besides me, say, what the hell is Jacksonville doing? I mean, damn. Jeez. I don't know, man. This is wild. Catching up in chat. Finally caught a stream. Love your videos. I do have a question. If the Saints win 5 of the first 7 games, should we assume the best or keep on our toes and see what happens? I would say assume the best, because if we go 5-2 in our first 7, we are sweet. If we go 5-2 in our first 7, we are going to win the NFC South. We are going to the playoffs. Like we are a legit team, a legitimate team. So I would say, yeah, all aboard the hype train in that case. The touchdowns thing is wild. Yeah, I mean, it's not even close. Like you're talking about, 58-80. Dalton was a great game manager when it came to the playoffs. But exactly, like you could say, like, Andy's a game manager. But if you look at these stats, Andy looks like Josh Allen. He looks like Patrick Mahomes compared to Trevor Lawrence. Like Trevor Lawrence looks like the game manager. Less passing yards per game. 58 touchdowns in 50 games? How's that possible? KC, the only team that paid and got a Super Bowl. Yeah, when you got the greatest quarterback to ever live, I mean, you can pay him whatever you want. Wish I could afford the LSU USC game in Vegas. Yeah, true. That's gonna be a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Be a hell of a game to go to. They could be bad too. Yeah, Jacksonville could be bad. Yeah, Jacksonville could be bad, but like, if they're bad next year, they're just gonna get worse. That's what happens when you pay a quarterback. You just get worse and worse and worse because you can't fill the roster. Yeah. I don't know why that. I mean, it's a horrible contract. One of the worst contracts in a long, long time. Long time. Crazy. Ladies and gentlemen, that is my 2 hours. That is 6 to 8. We have done it again. Third consecutive stream in a row. Thank you so much for hanging out with me tonight. I appreciate it. Thank you for the chats, the voice messages, the video reaction, everything. I appreciate it. Had a lot of fun. These are fantastic. These are awesome. These are awesome. We will be back to our regularly scheduled program tomorrow. With videos Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. If you haven't got the drift, that's daily videos, ladies and gentlemen. We ain't stopping. We're on a streak. I want to get to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years straight. Like Goldberg back in WCW. Want to continue the streak. W. James, when's the next stream? We're going to try and make streams a Thursday thing. If there's changes in that, check my Twitter. Make sure you're following the Twitter right here. Boom. That's where I will be updating times and all that stuff. Stay safe and looking for your daily content. Thank you, Franklin. Nice stream. W, great show. Another awesome stream. Thank you, thank you, thank you. W, I've been watching your content every day since 2022. My God. TD. Damn. Comment of the day. Daily content every day since 2022. Unbelievable. We do have quite the catalog. Great show, James, as usual. Thank you, Pam. I'm glad you got home safe driving to these crazy roads. Thank you very much. Always appreciate it, Divine. Thank you for the voice message and the support. Ladies and gentlemen, I will see you in tomorrow's video. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great rest of your Thursday.